I don't know if someone wants to go over there and yell at everyone else if they want to drink it, or anybody like that. What do you need, brother?
I came better prepared than
Brandon, I'm going to yell at them out there.
Yes, sir.
They're also going to yell at you.
Yes, sir.
Use your big guy voice.
Can do.
Speak from the diaphragm.
Oh yeah, like back whenever I was a front man in a metal band. I got it.
It's right about here.
Yeah.
Occasionally you might have to do this. That's Dudley.
You said that I talk too loud.
That's all you do. Everywhere you talk from is right here.
Yeah. I was told that my entire life growing up, and so I got a little quieter. And now I'm being told speak up your mind, man.
Hey, honey, how are you? Did you sleep well?
No, you're good. They'll just see a glorious mohawk on the internet.
It's not that glorious. It was longer.
Well, both of you. They're mohawk brothers. I'm jealous. I had to get rid of mine.
11 Magtail Super Planner. Or Warrior.
I'm a little straight up homeless when I retire.
Well, for those that are already here, if you do have a Bible, we're going to start easy on page 2.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Page 2?
Yeah, page 2.
Page 2. That might be a little different for me. What's page 2?
All right, for those that don't have the scriptures, Genesis 2:26.
Why did you just say page 2? Genesis 2, what?
26.
2:26.
No.
I'm sorry. I lied. Genesis 1:26 on page 2. You guys will have to forgive me. This is honestly a very sporadic list of stuff that I've been writing for the last few months. So this, forgive me if it's a little disorganized, but trust me, I do have something that's been on my heart for the last 6 months, 5 months, 3 months. I don't really pertain to time all that well. But is everyone here all settled in, nice and comfy? You got your coffee, drinks, no one's gonna pee or anything? All right, cool. Whose image are we created in?
Elohim's.
Okay, so in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, and Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all of the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground." And Elohim created the man in his image, and in the image of Elohim he created him, male and female he created them. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said to them, "Be fruitful and increase, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over all the creeping creatures on the earth." Now, second question, whose light are we to be for the world? Who are we representatives of? If we go to Proverbs chapter 6, and I'm going to jump around a lot. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23, page 734. Yes, I did do page numbers, because I need them too. I did them last minute though, so don't go getting ahead of yourself.
6 and what?
Proverbs chapter 6, verse 23. And does anyone want to just start reading that whenever you're there?
6:23.
Yep.
I love lamp.
For the command is a lamp, and the Torah a light, and reproofs of discipline a way of life.
Okay, so just real quick, this isn't in my notes, but John chapter 1, in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and in the beginning God created light. And then, later on he created the sun, moon, and the stars. So first he created the light, the good, the anti-darkness, if you want to call that. So to be truly set apart, to be truly representative and truly made in his image, to be rulers over the fish of the sea, to be able to subdue the world, we have to shine our lights. We have to be representatives of the Creator, and we have to be his image here on earth as best as we can. We do make mistakes, but there's provisions for all of that. It's to be truly set apart is more than just faith. It's even more than just obeying the Torah in and of itself. Your entire being is to be set apart, to include your actions, your habits, your thoughts, and overall your heart. And just a quick side note, how many times are we told, more or less, to circumcise our hearts? Throughout Scripture, throughout the Old Testament, throughout the New Testament, Deuteronomy 30, 1 through 3, page 218. Thanks, Kosher Dad, for pointing this one out yesterday. If anyone else wants to volunteer and read when they get there, they can. 13, Deuteronomy 30, 1 through 3. That's page 218.
I have it. And it shall be, when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the nations, where Yahweh, your Elohim, drives you, and shall turn back to Yahweh, your Elohim, and obey his voice according to all that I command you today, and with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children. Then Yahweh, your Elohim, shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where Yahweh, your Elohim, has scattered you.
So I touched on it a little bit, but there's provisions for those times when we did turn away, where we did go astray. But overall, our goal is to keep that light lit, keep it shining. And 1 Peter 2:21, but we're not going there. I'm sorry. But we all know that scripture, hopefully. We're supposed to keep this light, and we're supposed to shine it, because that's the overall intention. For God didn't love just the Christians. For God didn't love the Pentecostals or the Lutherans or the Catholics or the Muslims or the Israelites even. For God loved the world, the entire world, to include the far left, to include the Muslims, to include each and every man in this room. God loved the world, so he sent his son to become an example of the light that we are all supposed to be. And there are provisions and punishments, for whenever we turn away from that path. But our overall goal in our heart is to keep that light lit, keep it shining, and make sure our brothers and sisters also have that light. And to not let anything get in the way of that to distract us from that. Ephesians chapter 5, 1 through 10, page 1140. Again, I'm very unorganized in this.
Doing a good job. Ephesians 5.
Ephesians chapter 5, verse 1 through 10. And honestly, this is the one that kind of spurred this. And it kind of bounces off of 1 Peter.
Can you read it?
Yeah, if you're there, go ahead. If someone wants to split it, you can.
Become then imitators of Elohim as beloved children, and walk in love as Messiah also has loved us, and gave himself for us a gift and an offering to Elohim for a sweet-smelling fragrance. But whoring and all uncleanness or greed of gain, let it not even be named among you, as is proper among set apart ones. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor coarse jesting, which are not fitting, but rather thanksgiving. For this you know, that no one who whores, nor unclean one, nor one greedy of gain, who is an idolater, has any inheritance in the reign of Messiah and Elohim. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these the wrath of Elohim comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not become partakers with him, for you were once darkness, but now you are light in the Master. walk as children of the light. For the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness, and righteousness, and truth, providing what is well-pleasing to the Master.
So real quick, Brother Dudley, where was it? We're not supposed to be talking about or being distracted by whoring and all uncleanness or greed of gain. Let it not even be named among you as is proper among set apart ones. So to be proper set apart ones, to be good set apart ones, we're not supposed to be getting distracted by that. Neither filthiness nor foolish talking or coarse jesting, aka talking shit, which are not fitting, but Brother Dudley, but rather thanksgiving for everything that we have, for everything that we're blessed with, and everything that we're working towards. To be thankful of all of that along the way. And then going down to verse 8, we were once darkness, but now we are the light. Brother Richard talked about that candle, light the other candle. We talked about it a little bit this morning too. I'm going to talk about it a little bit here because it works. We're to keep that light lit, keep it spreading, keep it going. Because if we're all shining our light, that light's going to shine out that window right there if it's dark out there. And other people are going to see that light. They're going to be, what did they have that I don't have, and how can I get some? Yep. And that's the whole point, because God so loved the world. Not just God loved the people in this room. God loved everyone out there at the marina. If they're there, if there's a boat on the lake, I don't know why they would be, it's kind of cold, but if there's someone out there, God loved everybody. So, to kind of, I had one more note. The last verse in this, for the fruit of the Spirit is in all goodness and righteousness and truth, proving what is well-pleasing to the Master. So, we know that we have our light shining well, we have our light shining bright if we're walking in goodness and righteousness and truth. And what are the definitions of those? Goodness, obviously we're not going around killing people or schwacking peepees or anything like that. Righteousness, blamelessly walking in the commands of Yah, and truth is the word. Just for lack of a better term. Page 1101, we'll jump to Romans 12 real quick. Like I said, this is very almost haphazard. But I'll just read these real quick. Romans 12, 1 through 2. I call upon you, therefore, brothers, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living offering, set apart, well-pleasing to your Elohim, your reasonable worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is that good and well-pleasing and perfect desire of Elohim. And then just fast forward a little bit to verse 16, 18, but we'll start in 16. Be of the same mind toward one another. Do not be proud in mind, but go along with the lowly. Do not be wise in your own estimation. Repay no one evil for evil. Respect what is right in the sight of all men. And if possible, on your part, be at peace with all men. So Paul right here just says, if possible, if you have it in you, because sometimes human emotion can take control, and this is kind of where I'm going with this. If possible on your part, be at peace with all men, because God loved the world. So, if all of that's the case, and with this last verse here, who is supposed to be in control? Is it you and your spirit, your Ruach that you have, the spirit of life, the light that is yours, given to you by the gift of God? You as the creation, as a representative, are you in control, or are your emotions in control? Are you quick to anger? Are you quick to sadness? Are you easily snapping at something or getting riled up at a certain subject or topic or something like that? If possible, peace is anti-sadness, anti-anger, anti-deceit or lying or whatever you want to call it. Shalom is completeness, to be that complete creation, to be at one with the Father and He is with you. Yeshua says, I and the Father are one. And that kind of coincides. There's multiple meanings for that. They are one and the same, or they could be one in agreement. to where I agree with everything the Father has told me to do, and I'm going to do my best of my broken ability to do my part in this walk on this earth for your kingdom. And that's what it's all supposed to be about. We're not supposed to be distracted by stuff that may not even pertain to our lives. We're not supposed to be distracted and riled up about something that's important, but not important to our walk. We're to make sure that, I don't know how many of you guys are on the Zoom calls, but there is a sermon that we like to reference back to a little bit by a gentleman by the name of Bill Cloud. He has a sermon called the Flashlight Sermon. And if you guys don't know it, just a brief aside real quick, if you guys want, there is the video on YouTube. You can watch it about an hour long. But we're all, as creations, hang on, let me get it. It's somewhere in here. Or somewhere in here. We're all, as creations, given a flashlight. Or a lamp, as some people might put it. And it takes wisdom. I forget the actual order of this that he uses in the video, but it takes wisdom to be like, what do I need to do with this thing? What's this for? It takes wisdom to turn it on, to shine it around. And some people, this gentleman says, some people say that their job is to go around and shine this light in everybody's eyes and be like, why can't you see what I see? Shouting out, why can't you see that I understand these scriptures and I understand the Old Testament is connected with the New Testament and it's supposed to be intertwined? Why can't you see what I see? And wondering why that person is just looking away from them when you're trying to shine your light right in their eyes. No one's going to understand that. No one's going to get that. No one's going to be drawn to that because honestly, these little O lights are pretty bright. But on the second hand, we're not supposed to be, say all of us are in this room, say there's no window, there's no lights, I'm the only one here with a light. I'm not supposed to be, okay, the walls are blue, it's probably 20 foot wide over here, there's a door over there, there's a door over there, there's an exterior door right there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lights up here, blah, 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 racking off all these little nitpicky details of knowledge, which, all right, cool, that's beneficial in a way, but it doesn't help the overall situation that the entire room is dark. There might be something on the floor, there's a whole bunch of chairs, there's people in my way, there's stuff like that. So what does Psalms 119 say about our walk? Does anyone have anything that may... Hang on. I got the page number for you. Psalms 119, 105, page 717. I wrote that wrong. Oh wait, no I didn't. Psalms 119, 105, if anyone has it.
Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path.
So, I'm just summarizing this video. It's not our job to do this. And it's not our job to shine a light in somebody's eyes, blinding everyone and turning them away. It's our job to make sure we're on the right path. It's our job to make sure whether we're taking a baby step or we're jumping down the hallway, we're making sure we're not going to hit this chair, that I'm not going to hit this table, or I'm not going to hit one of these brothers in front of me. We're making sure that we're on the right track with God. We're making sure that our light is His light that's shining for the world. And so we can't let our emotions get in the way whenever we do accidentally stub our toe, or another person who doesn't have their light turned on bumps into us. Or maybe someone says something that kind of grinds your gears a little bit. Don't let that distract you from what you're supposed to be doing. Making sure your word is a lamp to my feet. I'm not supposed to sit here and make sure Brother Justin over here is walking on his right path, because what's the point of me going like this and be like, okay, take another step this way, take another step that way, and I'm over here in the dark. It's a lamp under my path. And it's not a selfish thing either. It's not like, well, I'm only worried about me, myself, and I. If I see another brother along my path who needs help, I'm going to help him. Or if I know of somebody who's behind me and they need help coming back up, or someone ahead of me who's turning away, I can pull them right back onto the path, or I can help them get to where I'm at. It's not about being selfish, but your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. It's not about going and saying, I'll be honest, last year, every time I passed by a church on a Sunday morning filled to the brim of the parking lot, I'd grip the steering wheel and I'd slowly try to turn into that parking lot, and something just blocks me. That's not my job to go in there and say, you're a bunch of liars. Your whole thing is wrong, and this needs to be the truth, and you guys are not saying it's the truth, and you're saying it's done away with, and you guys are eating pork after this, and there's pork on the sanctuary. What are you doing? Not my job. Now, if all of a sudden God pulls me in there and says, all right, bro, there's someone in here that needs to hear this, okay, that's a different story. But because of my emotions that were directing me to want to go in there and do that, that wasn't me in control. That was my emotions in control. That was my anger. That was my, look at all these stupid sheep, blah, 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 and they're just going there and marking a checkbox every week and just being done with it. That was my emotions in control. That wasn't Yah saying that. That was me saying that. And honestly, I probably would have gotten kicked out. And, in Texas now with, what happened last year, the last couple of years, it might not have been pretty for me. But, I'm just going to read a couple of Proverbs real quick. If we have our foundation in the Word, and we have our light turned on, and it's pointed in the right direction, safe to say that we're trying to build our walk on a solid foundation. That way, if someone did come and bump us off, we know right back where we need to get back on the path. Or if something messes up and we realize maybe a day later, an hour later, or 2 years later, or 10 years later in my case, that I've been way over here on this path, but I need to come back, teshuvah, and turn and repent and come back to the light. Once that foundation is there, whether or not you turn away from it, that foundation is there. And if it's a strong foundation, Proverbs 10:25, as the whirlwind passes by, the wrong one is no more, but the righteous has an everlasting foundation. That foundation is there. God's always there, no matter where you go in life. If after this you're like, you know what, screw these guys are a bunch of weirdos with their space coffee and hand cannons, I'm going. Love you.
I ain't bailing you out neither. You're on your own.
But if all of a sudden someone here does that, I hope and pray it doesn't, but if someone does that, deep down in their heart, they know, those crazy guys were right in Oklahoma. And you have an everlasting foundation. God's planted that seed in you, and I'm sorry, no matter how much you guys want to run away, you guys are stuck now. And the only option left now is for you to grow and keep walking on your path. Keep that light turned on as much as you can. Another one in Proverbs chapter 10, the way of Yahweh is a stronghold for the perfect, but ruin to the workers of wickedness. The righteous is never shaken, while the wrong shall not dwell in the earth. So when those hardships do come, 2008 stock market crash, we were talking about it a little bit earlier. I honestly was, a little bit younger, didn't have a job or anything like that. I was in high school. So it didn't really affect me that much. So I didn't really care that much. But there were people who lost $100,000 in one day, if not more. There's people that lost everything. But I know that if I'm walking on this path, I have my light shine here, my foundation is set up and strong and forever and everlasting, and I have all these blessings listed in the first 5 books of the Bible, that if I do all these things, I'm going to be blessed. Proverbs right here just told me the way of Yahweh is a stronghold for the perfect too. So if all of those hardships come my way, all right, cool. It's a change in scenery. I might have to, change a few habits or do something a little bit different. If we don't have power all of a sudden, maybe all of us will be shining our flashlights so we can actually see. Things might be a little bit different, but I know I can still read this word, whether or not there's power. And if I don't have this word, I have this word, which hopefully you guys have an app on your phone, I'm just saying. But all of that connects with what Yeshua says about the foundation, I believe. Let's see. Page 926. Again, I'm sorry for
No apologies necessary.
Matthew 7, verse 24 through 27, page 926.
You just want to read it?
Yeah, if anyone wants to read it, go ahead.
Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them should be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on the house, and it fell, and great was the fall. And it came to be, when Yahweh had ended these words, that the people were astonished at his teaching. For he was teaching them in one possessing authority, and not as the scribes. Sorry, wrong person, same intent.
It's all right. But, you know, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. So if everyone turns on their light, shining it on their own path, build up that foundation, and take off on that walk, like a wise man who built his house on the rock. He's always going to have that foundation like we talked about in Proverbs chapter 10. An example of this, well, there's several examples of people facing hardship after building that foundation, is, let's see, I don't have notes on this, but one family of Levites who didn't defile themselves, who remained set apart, and I believe this is in Ezekiel. One family of Levites who didn't defile themselves, who remained set apart through all the troubling times, just as Joseph did when he was in prison. I mean, Joseph was in prison for how long? And he still stayed where he was at. Paul was in prison. Daniel did, you know, whenever in the first part of Daniel where he talks about, like, I'm not going to eat the king's food, just feed me vegetables. And they ended up, him and I think 2 or 3 other people, were, you know, more healthy than all the other people who was eating. So he got blessed to be, you know, he was taken care of. You know, and later on in the lion's den, we know this. And Yeshua, while he was wandering the desert, being beaten and tortured and sweat blood to what he was about to go through, he went through several hardships. And Brother Wilkins, hematidrosis, being overly feared and suffering extreme anguish to the point to where your blood vessels around your sweat glands burst. And you're sweating blood because you have all that much fear. And even then, Luke 22, 42 through 44, page 10, 15 through 16, even through all of this, this was right before he was captured and tortured and ripped up, you know, and hung on the stake and all this, that, and the other. Before all of this, I'm way ahead, hang on. I'm not even in the right book. Yeah, Luke 22, 42 through 44, saying, Father, if it be your counsel, remove this cup from me. Yet not my desire, but let yours be done. So going back to what I was talking about whenever I wanted to pull into that parking lot. His emotions, now I'm not in no way anywhere near what he was going through at all. But he understood, Yeshua understood, not my desire, but let yours be done. And fast track to 44. And being in agony, he was praying more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground, which the medical term is hematidrosis, which is, you know, suffering extreme anger and fear, blood vessels pop. You're actually so scared, so worried, and so, you know, you just don't know what to do, that you're actually sweating blood. Like your blood vessels just pop around your sweat glands, and you're sweating blood. It's an actual medical condition. But even then, even how scared he was, as our example, he went back to that foundation and he did God's will for us. He kept his light turned on, and as we all know, 1 Peter 2:21, for this you were called. We're to follow his example. Whether that means all of a sudden, whatever helicopters come around and there's guys jumping in, I mean, we're going to be all right, I think, you know, between how many people here. But in any case, you know, we're not supposed to get scared of that. You know, if we focus on our path, if we keep that if we keep the Word of God as a light to our path, if we keep that foundation strong and keep building on top of that foundation, whatever we build and whatever we get blessed with, whatever we become good stewards and masters of, it's going to be established forever. And Ezekiel 44, 23 to 24, page 577. You can turn there if you want. I'm just going to start reading it real quick. The reward for all of this, or one of them, should I say. And I don't know if this contextually explains us or not. Honestly, I saw this and it just, hey, Father said, just put it in your notes. We keep that foundation strong, we keep building on it, and we keep walking our path. And if we keep, suffering through hard times, going back to our path, going back to our roots that we were grafted into, the reward, or one of them, is, and they are to teach my people the difference between the set apart and the profane, and make them know what is unclean and clean. And they are to stand as judges in a dispute, and judge it according to my right rulings. And they are to guard my Torah and my laws in all my appointed times, and set apart my Sabbaths. We're called to be kings and priests in the end. But they are to teach my people. There is a difference between teaching and walking into a church going, you sinners are doing it all wrong. There's a difference. No one's going to respond to that. There's a common phrase you guys might have heard, but you catch more flies with honey than you do vinegar. And it's not that we're supposed to walk around going limp-wristed and all this and that, but there's a difference between reacting to your emotions and allowing the Father to do something through you. And whether the Father says righteous anger is good and you can hack someone up like Shemuel did in our reading this morning, if that's justifiable, then that's justifiable. Anyway, rabbit hole down that one. But overall, we're not to let our emotions control us. We're not to let anger, like if someone came and stepped on my toe, I'm like, you son of a... Can't do that. You got to be more disciplined than that. And a good man by the name of Jocko Willink has a nice little slogan. If we are disciplined, discipline equals freedom. Because we know we're not tied to those quick reactions of anger or suffering through sadness or being so drowned out by the entire world because we're so worried about something that when you look back at it, that mountain became a molehill. We're not called to be worried. We're not called to be scared. We're not called to be angry. We're not called to be arrogant. We're not called to be prideful. We're not called to be selfish. We're not called to be greedy. We're called to follow the example of Yeshua. And we're called to, and through that example, we're to let the Father work through us. And anything that we have going on up here or in here, that can get in the way. If I did turn that steering wheel into that church parking lot and go in through the doors and start doing what I wanted to do, could be in jail, could have got shot, could have just been kicked out of the church. But in any way, it's kind of rare that someone would actually take something from that. Who's going to listen to some crazy dude with seat hanging off of his corner? Like, what in the world is this guy talking about? No one's going to listen to that. So it's not about Bible thumping. It's not about anything but making sure you're on your path. Your foundation is good. Because a broken vessel can't fill up anyone else. A poorly lit candle can't light another candle all that well. Can it still be done? Yeah, all things are possible. But we want to be as efficient. We're to set ourselves apart for Yah. To let Him work through us. And we are not to be worried and tied to all these different worldly things that could get in the way. People often say that the ways of the world might be too hard or too much or overbearing for them. Whether it be the government, the simple gossip we were talking about earlier, the inconveniences or money, modern church or what others are doing or not doing. But really, are we to be looking at that? Are we supposed to be looking at the world or looking to the world at all? No. Set your eyes on the Father. You will be provided for along the way. Worry is an emotion too, and you will be rewarded. And honestly, I have this last scripture and I can't remember what it is. I really can't. But let's find out. Luke 12:22 through 31, page 1001. For anyone who is worried, if anyone who is scared, or if anyone who is at least a little distraught or distracted of what might happen today, tomorrow, the next day, or the next few days, or whatever, or later on down the road, if any worry crosses your heart, well, if anyone's there, read it.
What verse?
I'm sorry, Luke 12:22 through 31.
And he said to his taught ones, For this reason I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you shall eat, nor about the body, what you shall put on. The life is more than the food, and the body is more than the clothing. How far did you say to go?
31.
31. Look at the ravens. Down to 31?
Mm-hmm.
Look at the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap, which have neither storehouse nor granary, and Elohim feeds them. How much more valuable are you than the birds? And which of you, by worrying, is able to add 1 cubit to his lifespan? If then you are unable to do the least, why do you worry about the rest? Look at the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, and I say to you, even Shalomo in all his esteem was not dressed like one of these. And if Elohim so clothes the grass, which today exists in the field and tomorrow is thrown into the furnace, how much more you, O you of little belief? And do not speak what you shall eat, or what you shall drink, and do not keep worrying. For the nations of the world seek all these, and your Father knows that you need these. But seek the reign of Elohim, and all there shall be added to you.
For the nations of the world seek all of these, and your Father knows that you need these. But seek the reign of Elohim, and all these shall be added to you. Reign of Elohim, for God so loved the world. So we're to keep that lamp shine at our feet. Make sure our foundation, make sure our relationship with the Father is good. Make sure that we have an open connection to Him at any and all times that we need Him or He needs us. And if we're walking along this path, we see another brother that needs help, help him. Easy. Done. If political unrest comes to your town or whatever, take care of it, but don't worry about, well, what if? Well, what if? Well, what if? Be prepared, be a good steward, and be a master of what you have. But don't let that what if get in the way of when can God get in. Because He might be sitting there knocking. And you're going to be too worried about this, that, or the other thing to notice that a brother's down on the side of the road and he just needs to jump real quick. Or whatever. I'm pretty sure all of us have at least one set of jumper cables. Hopefully they're actually in your vehicle too. So you can help somebody if you see them on the side of the road. And if that person does have a foot-long mohawk that changes colors every week and chains hanging off of them and piercings all in their face, like I used to, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When you pull over, you're not looking for tzitzit on the side of the belt. Now, if you see them, awesome. But you're not looking for that. You're there because God loved the world. We are to love the world too. That includes everybody. And if our light is shining in other people's eyes and around the room trying to get little tidbits of knowledge that don't help our relationship with the Father, that's distracting from what God's point was in John 3:16. So, overall, I'm sorry this was a little bit scattered. This message has been on my heart for a while, but we are not in, our emotions are not to control us. It's the other way around. a wise gentleman that I know that I kind of grew up with says, you know, I was talking to him one day, and out of nowhere, he just looks at me and says, what do you want to be? What do you want to do with your life? And right as I said the words he said them to, kind of a jinx moment, he said, I just want to be happy. And we said it at the same exact time. He's like, yeah, I thought so. It's what everyone says. The problem with that, though, is that happiness, just like fear, just like worry, just like doubt, just like anger, is an emotion. If someone's happy all the time, you kind of don't want to be around that person all the time because there's something a little off, right? He's like, happiness is an emotion. You don't strive, you don't put all of your efforts to be happy all the time. That's not realistic. You strive to be stable and have a good foundation. Strive to be content with what you have and be a good steward of what you have. You can understand and appreciate that when that happiness comes along, you can be like, oh man, this is great. I'm blessed. This is awesome. And you understand that whenever that happiness kind of goes away and you get back in the groove of your stability, you're like, man, that was cool. I want to, that'd be nice to do that again, but I understand that it's an emotion. It's not this constant uphill thing of more happy, more happy, more happy. And the same thing goes for sadness. You understand and you appreciate that when sadness comes, when something does happen, you don't let the emotion control you, but you understand that when you do hit that point in sadness, it's not forever. God's got you, just like what was said in Luke chapter 12. God's got you. So you understand that when that sadness hits us, all right, cool, you're sad a little bit, but okay, time to man up, time to get back. We got shit that needs to be done. And if you strive to be content, you're going to be on a good foundation. Your light's always going to be charged. And you're going to be ready to help the world. You're going to be ready to shine that light that God gave you to the world. You'll be that candle that's lighting up everyone else. But that's all I got for you guys today.
Man.
Thanks, MechMaster.